Well, we are back with Tea with the Shepherd, and we're in chapter 19. And man, last one was a little tough. And it's one of those topics that I don't like to talk about a whole lot because it is so controversial. But we'll dive into this short one because it's verse 13 and just blessing the children. Then little children were brought to Jesus for him to place his hands on them and pray for them. But the disciples rebuked those who brought them. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." When he had placed his hands on them, he went on from there. Okay, so there's a contrast here between the attitude of the Pharisees that we just saw, and then these that are wanting to be blessed. So the other one, the Pharisees are coming to him not to be blessed, but to poke holes and to try to trip him up. We're also getting a lot closer to, again, the Passover and Jesus' death and resurrection. So because of that, it is building up. The pressure, the tension, all of this is building up. And oh, Jesus is having these conversations with the Pharisees that aren't good. So, and as soon as he gets back into the area, and so then when he's met with these children, oh, his heart just melts and he's softened to them. And yet, his disciples, even though we literally just had this conversation with, he just had this conversation with them, what, in chapter 18? I think it was just, yeah, just before this. He had just had the conversation about the children. He even had the child in his lap and was saying, "Be like a little child." But what do they do here is they are rebuking. And for some reason in my mind, I thought that the disciples, I guess I'd heard it somehow and it stuck with me that they were rebuking the children and running up to them and stopping them from approaching Jesus. But it actually says, but the disciples rebuked those who brought them. So they were rebuking the parents for having let the children loose to go to Jesus. I was thinking, how many times have um, parents receive that almost that shaming, that guilt, that parent guilt of, well, don't do this, don't do that. You don't want to brainwash your children. But these parents wanted them to know Jesus and they wanted them to encounter Jesus. So they brought them to Jesus. And that's what we do as parents. We bring them to Jesus. Sometimes the children go and find Jesus on their own, but this is what the role and the the heart of a parent is, to guide our children to Jesus and let them encounter him personally. And that's what they were doing. Yet the disciples were stopping them. We're stopping the parents. And then Jesus saying, "No, let them come to me. Don't hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." As we literally just talked about. I don't know how to get this. These are the ones that God welcomes. He wants you to have the heart, the childlike heart of these children. He wants you to be childlike in your faith and your desire to run to Him in all abandonment, carefree. Don't care what anybody says or thinks, that you will run to Him and just throw yourself into His lap and want to sit in His presence. And these parents were allowing them to do that. They were releasing them to run to Jesus. And it's such a beautiful thing. Okay, so we end here. Actually, that was really short. So we end here and we pick up tomorrow with the rich young ruler.